my son's little boy and girl. And then my daughters have Samuel.
This time I'll call the September meeting of the Henry County School Board to order, and I'll ask Mrs. Overby if she will check our morning's roll.
Mr. Walker?
Here.
Dr. DeVaugh?
Here.
Ms. Landry?
Here.
Mr. Bradley? Mr. Martin?
Here.
Dr. Stanball?
Here.
Mr. Taylor?
Here.
Thank you, Ms. Overby. First order of business this morning will be approval of today's agenda. I'll entertain a motion at this time to approve this morning's agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Those in favor of this motion signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Take this time to welcome guest visitors to this morning's program. A special welcome to Delegate Danny Marshall, who represents at least a portion of Henry County in the General Assembly, the 14th District of the General Assembly. Mr. Marshall will make a presentation later. If you'll give us just a minute here, and we'll put you right on stage here. Also welcome to special guest, Mr. Curtis Milner, who is more used to sitting on this side of the procedures, but we're glad that to have him here this morning, and Mr. Marshall will be recognizing him later here. And also thanks to members of the staff who are here. We appreciate you being present, whether you were asked to be present or whether you're just here to find out what's going on. We're glad you're here. At this time, I'll ask everyone to please stand, join me in the morning's invocation, and then Dr. Stanball will do the Pledge of Allegiance. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks this morning for this beautiful day. Thanks for the most precious gift of all, that of life that you've made possible for us. We give you thanks for the opportunity to come to this point on this day to go about the business of serving the youth, the staff, and the community for Henry County Public Schools. We would ask that you would give us guidance and direction as we go through this morning's activities. May our thoughts, our discussion, and our action always be pleasing in your sight, and may it in all cases be dedicated to the well-being of the youth of our schools, their parents, and again, the community which they serve. These things we ask in thy precious name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time we'll move to public comment, and again, welcome Delegate Danny Marshall, 14th District of Virginia General Assembly, who will bring us an update on school safety committee that he chairs for the state of Virginia. Thank you, Delegate Marshall, for being with us this morning.
Well, thank you for letting me be here, but I also want to thank you for your service to the citizens of Henry County. You make a difference, and so thank you for that service. So you probably could be doing something else, but thank you. So let me tell you a little bit about the Select Committee. I've been before you before, but I'm going to give you, in case for the people back here who were not here at the last time, how this committee got formed. So after the tragedy in Lakeland, Florida last year, watching TV on one Sunday morning, one of the commentators had a father and a high school senior that they were interviewing. The interview went on, and the commentator asked him, he says, what do we need to do about stopping guns coming into school? And the father said, stop. It's not about guns. It's about securing your schools. Now, you think about cell phones. You can't even go into a courtroom with a cell phone. And you think about after 9/11, what happened is that the airports are secure. And you can't go into the airports with a weapon, and you certainly can't get on a plane with one. So he says we have secured the airports, and the airports are fairly are safe after that. So What I did is I went to the leadership, the Speaker of the House and other members of leadership, and pitched an idea that I thought that we should look at how school safety when we're out of session. When we're in session, it's just it is like taking a sip of water out of a fire hose. It's just so fast down there. We don't have time to delve into a lot of things. So after session, we have a lot of different committees that we go in and look at issues is more detailed. So what he did is he selected, started something called the Select Committee on School Safety. First time the General Assembly has had a select committee since Abraham Lincoln was president. So it's something that's not used quite often. So there are members on this committee appointed by the Speaker of the House. And one of the things that when I went to see the Speaker, I said that we're going to have a lot of issues that we got to come before us. And those issues are going to cost some money. And one of the things that I know that the school systems that in my district, my house district, which is Henry County, Pennsylvania County, and the City of Danville, they all are going to want to fix problems. But I know that you don't have an abundance of cash to fix that. And I know if you look at the household incomes of about $30,000 here compared to Fairfax County, and Loudoun County. Loudoun County was in front of our committee the other day. They have 80,000 students. Think about that, 80,000 students. And so, but they have a household income of $110,000. So their ability to pay is a lot different than ours. So I told my thought with the Speaker is, these things are going to cost some money, and the state is going to have to pick the tab up, in my opinion. So where we are right now, we have set up 3 subcommittees, and those subcommittees have met throughout the summer. And next Tuesday on the 11th, we are to meet in Richmond. All 3 subcommittees will meet, and then the full committee will meet at 10 o'clock next Tuesday. And what each one of the subcommittees is going to propose are different ideas in relation to what that subcommittee is about. So we have one subcommittee on infrastructure, and it's just like that. They will look at how to secure that school. We have one on mental health, and I've served on all 3 of them, and so it's pretty astounding to see what Virginia is already doing. Virginia's leading the other states as far as school safety. So we'll have all these ideas that will be put on the table next Tuesday, and then the next step we'll do is Legislative Services is a group of lawyers that work on behalf of the General Assembly. I'm not a lawyer, but what they do, they will draft ideas or either budget amendments, and they will be brought to us at our December meeting, and we will decide which bills go forward. I'm thinking we're going to probably have 20, 25 bills relating to this alone, and so that they will be introduced sometime late December or early January. So I would encourage you to, and I will send Sandy a list of those bills, and so that you can get your reaction to those and what we can look forward to. So one of the things I want to make sure that parents know that we have done a lot of research that children in schools are 20 times more safer than going to a restaurant. If you look at the statistics, a child is 20 times more likely to get harmed at a restaurant than at a school. So not saying that we don't need to do all that we can do, but I think that the students are safe, teachers are safe, and administration is safe. So I'd maybe like to see if you have any questions.
Questions for Delegate Marshall? I think you touched on probably the issue that we are most concerned about. We want to do all we can do for safety for the kids, and we feel like Henry County probably has been a little bit ahead of the curve in that, but the money issue is always there. So I know you indicated that you had mentioned that. This had been brought up by you in the committee, and I hope that will be certainly taken into consideration when this report comes out, and we're looking forward to seeing it, to see where our system stands, and to see any new suggestions that we can implement that will move our system further down the line in ensuring the safety of our students. And we appreciate your work and the work of the committee, and relay our appreciation on to them. Other questions or comments for?
You mentioned 3 committees: infrastructure, mental health, and what was the third one?
The third one is about the education part of school safety, is how the teachers and administration as far as school safety. So, but if you look at this website that is located schoolsafety.virginia.gov, you can go to that website and you can make a comment. If you see something that you think that needs to be brought out, go to that and you can click on any one or all 3 of those subcommittees and make a comment about those. And then we'll take those comments and see. And we've gotten, I've probably gotten 125 emails, and I know that this website's probably gotten several hundred emails from all over the state. Now, we'll ask you for your address, and we're going to ask you for your zip code. And the reason we're doing that is we want to try to keep the comments to Virginia citizens. We're not looking for comments from California. So,
you mentioned that there may be as many as 20 actions before you guys. Do you know how many, or if any of those include unfunded mandates that are going to be considered?
that is one of the issues that we hopefully there will be no unfunded mandates. There might be mandates, but they will not require money. And so one of the things that we have found is that, you mentioned that what you're doing as far as school safety. One of the things we're going to try to do is to, if you look all over the Commonwealth, a lot of school divisions are already doing things as far as school safety. We're going to try to get all of those ideas and try to get everybody on the same page. So some of those will not cost money, but the ones who do cost money, we're going to try to get those funded. And the timing is kind of good right now, if you can say the time's ever good for this. But if you look at what happened with the Supreme Court hearing as far as when Wayfair was not paying sales tax when you bought something from them. If I buy this jacket at a bricks and mortar store, I have to pay sales tax, but if I buy it online, I don't have to pay sales tax. Never made any sense to me, but the Supreme Court says you got to pay sales tax on that now. So that's going to be about anywhere, we're guessing $300 to $500 million that's coming into the state. You can imagine everybody and their brother has raised their hands and said, I want part of that. So even Senator Stanley, just north of us, has talked about school modernization. So that's part of it. And then also Trump's tax plan is going to bring in additional revenue, and that's probably another $300 million. So the money could be there if we allocate it this way.
Thanks.
Other questions? Well, again, thank you, Delegate Marshall, and you can, since you're here for, seeing no one else that wants to present public comment, we'll move on into awards and recognition, and Delegate Marshall is here to recognize one of our favorite and former board members, Mr. Curtis Milner. And Delegate Marshall, I'll turn this over to you to proceed with this recognition.
So, Mr. Milner, would you like to come up, please? So this is a House Joint Resolution 452 commending Curtis R. Miller Sr., agreed to by the House delegates on March 7th of 2018 and agreed to by the Senate on March 9th of 2018. Whereas on December 31 of 2017, Curtis R. Miller Sr. retired as a member of the Henry County School Board after many years of distinguished contributions to the young people of Henry County. And whereas a graduate of Patrick Henry Community College and Columbia College in Missouri, Curtis Miller also served his country for 23 years as a member of the United States Army It was a junior reserve officer training corps instructor in the Henry County Public Schools. And whereas Curtis Milner represented the Irishwood District for 16 years, including terms as vice chair from 2015 to 2016, and as chair from 2004 to 2007, and in 2017. And whereas Curtis Milner has demonstrated a strong commitment to excellence in meeting the educational needs of all the citizens in Henry County, he provided leadership in confronting challenges and determinations and preservation with maintaining a focus on educational excellence. And whereas during Curtis Milner's tenure on the Henry County School Board, the school system has excellent service advancements in academic achievement and school accreditation, while also making strides to close the achievement gap. And whereas Curtis Milner has actively supported all facets of the school program, including equitable curriculum offering, the implementation of a state-of-the-art technology program, the improvements of school facilities, and construction of the Meadowview Elementary School, and the availability of existence co-curricular and the extracurricular programs for the Henry County students. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the House of Delegates, the Senate concurring, that the General Assembly hereby commend Curtis R. Milner, Sr., for his legacy of service to the young people on the occasion of his retirement from the Henry County School Board, and be it resolved further that the Clerk of the House of Delegates prepare a copy of this resolution for the presentation to Curtis R. Milner, Sr. as an expression of the General Assembly's admiration for his contributions to the Henry. House patrons was me, Marshall, and Delegate Les Adams, and Senator Bill Stanley. Congratulations.
Thank you again, Delegate Marshall. We appreciate you taking of your busy schedule to be with us this morning and recognizing an individual who certainly is deserving of the accolades that you have expounded on there to us. And Mr. Milner, to you, congratulations. And we miss you, but I'm sure you're having a better time maybe sometimes than we are.
This is indeed an honor, and I'd just like to thank everyone, especially Marshall and everyone that made an effort to do this. I'm still busy, and when I leave here, if it's okay, I want to go over to Meadowview and see what it's like with students in it.
It looks
Thank
very
you.
nice.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Mr. Milner. We'll continue then with Section 3, Awards and Recognition. And Ms. Hatch, I believe you have the remainder of these, so I'll just let you stand there until you finish.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Our first recognition this morning is one that I'm especially pleased to read and have you approve so that we can present today. As you know, annually, the Virginia School Boards Association offers us the opportunity to recognize members of the media who collaborate with our schools in extensive manners and promote our schools in positive ways. Far beyond and above anyone else in our community who has helped us to promote the good that's been happening in our schools this year. When I was asked to submit a name, Luis Romero was the name that came to mind without hesitation. So this morning I'm pleased to read the proclamation for you all to vote on. Whereas in each community, the public schools are shaped by the community to provide the most appropriate and effective education for the school children who attend those schools. And whereas public schools are dependent on the community's support in countless ways, including support in setting goals for the education of our children, in establishing successful volunteer and booster programs at the schools, and for annual funding of operations, in periodic bond elections, in the election of qualified school board members, and whereas much of the community's knowledge and opinions about the public schools rely on responsible reporting by local media representatives who decide which news to share with the community, how much attention will be focused on various issues, and what the tone of the reporting will be. Now therefore be it resolved that the School Board of Henry County Public Schools place the name of Luis Romero on the statewide VSBA Media Honor Roll, calling attention to the ongoing responsible and exemplary nature of reporting on this community's public schools. We express our appreciation for your balanced and accurate approach to sharing with this community both the challenges facing our schools and the successes achieved by the teachers and students. Your work has aided the community in focusing on the goal of providing the best public schools we can for the children who attend them. And I'd like to ask Dr. DeVault and Ms. Strayer to come forward to have a photo taken with Luis.
Got to approve the proclamation, right? Should have done that first.
All right, we do need to have an official vote for that proclamation.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the proclamation.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve this resolution. Those in favor of this stated motion, signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Okay, Ms. Hatchett.
Our next recognition is annual recognition of Hispanic Heritage Month. As you know, Hispanic Heritage Month actually began as Hispanic Heritage Week under President Lyndon Johnson, was expanded by President Ronald Reagan in 1988. The President issues his proclamation just prior to the start of that month. It covers September 15th through October 15th. So we are reading last year's proclamation from the President in acknowledgement of his issuance of an updated proclamation this year. However, we want to make sure that our schools go on record in recognizing the entire month, and since our meeting is slightly earlier than his proclamation, we want to do that today. During National Hispanic Heritage Month, we celebrate the accomplishments of Hispanic Americans who have helped shape our great nation. We are grateful for the many contributions Hispanic American men and women make to our society and the vibrancy they weave into our American culture. From America's earliest days, Hispanic Americans have played a prominent and important role in our national heritage, and Hispanic Americans continue to embody the pioneering spirit of America today. Demonstrating a steadfast commitment to faith, family, and hard work, Hispanic Americans lift up our communities and our economy as entrepreneurs, executives, and small business owners, and make contributions in areas such as science, art, music, politics, academia, government, and sports. Hispanic Americans strengthen our bonds with our Latin American neighbors with whom we share a rich history. We are united with them in hemispheric solidarity based on a shared commitment to democratic principles. To secure a more prosperous, free Western Hemisphere, we are working to advance and maintain democracy in the region and secure free and fair trade among our regional partners. My administration is dedicated to securing human rights in Cuba and Venezuela and strengthening our cultural and philosophical ties with all our Latin American partners. This month, we recognize the countless contributions of Hispanic Americans that help make our nation a thriving and secure land of opportunity. To honor achievements of Hispanic Americans, the Congress, by public law as amended, has authorized and requested the President to issue annually a proclamation designating September 15th through October 15th as National Hispanic Heritage Month. Now, therefore, I, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States, do hereby proclaim September 15th through October 15th as National Hispanic Heritage Month. Call upon public officials, educators, librarians, and all Americans to observe this month with appropriate ceremonies, activities, and programs. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand, and this was last year, the 13th day of September, and the independence of the United States of America, the 242nd, and it was signed by Donald Trump last year. We will be sharing a copy of the updated proclamation when it's released this year as well, but our schools will be recognizing Hispanic Heritage Month from September 15th through October 15th and hosting activities for our EL families, as well as participating in a community-wide Latino fair at the Smith River Sports Complex during that period of time. So we want to acknowledge that for our schools and our students. Our next recognition is one that you will vote on. And as you know, annually, the Virginia School Boards Association requests that we call recognition to September as Attendance Awareness Month. And as you're also aware, new regulations and standards put out for schools call to include attendance as a measure moving forward. So attendance will be even more in the forefront of what we do every day and what we consider when we work with students and families. And Dr. Stanball has a resolution to read for you for your consideration.
Resolution R19-04 of the School Board of Henry County, recognizing September as Attendance Awareness Month. Whereas good attendance is essential to student achievement and graduation, and we are committed to dedicating our attention to reducing chronic absenteeism rates with a focus starting as early as pre-kindergarten and kindergarten, and whereas chronic absences, missing 10% or more of school for any reason, including excused and unexcused absences, or just 2 to 3 days a month, is a proven indicator of academic trouble and dropout rates, and whereas improving attendance and reducing chronic absence takes commitment, collaboration, and tailored approaches to particular challenges and strengths in each community, whereas chronic absence predicts lower third-grade reading proficiency, course failure, and eventual dropout, it weakens our communities and our local economy. And whereas attendance gaps among groups of students often turn into achievement gaps that undermine student success, chronic absence particularly exacerbates the achievement gap that separates students in low-income communities from their peers, since students from low-income communities are both more likely to be chronically absent and more likely to be affected academically by missing school. Whereas all students, even those who attend regularly, are affected by chronic absence, and whereas chronic absence can be significantly reduced when schools, families, and communities work together to monitor and promote good attendance and address hurdles that keep children from getting to school, now therefore be it resolved that as the School Board of Henry County, we proclaim our school district will stand with the nation in recognizing September as Attendance Awareness Month. We hereby commit to focusing on reducing chronic absenteeism to give all children an equitable opportunity to learn, grow, and thrive academically, emotional, and socially.
Thank you, Dr. Stanball. I believe this resolution does need a vote. Is there a motion to accept this resolution as it's been presented?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Those in favor of this stated motion signify by raising their right hand. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Hatchett.
Our next recognition is one that we were pleased to receive from the Virginia Board of Education. The Board of Education Distinguished Achievement Award is presented annually to schools that earn this award based on particular criteria set out by the state, and we are pleased to share that Rich Acres Elementary has again earned this Distinguished Achievement Award from the Virginia Board of Education. And we have Ms. Scott here today to accept the award officially in your presence, so I'd like to ask Dr. DeVault and Ms. Strayer to come down for that. Today is obviously the day for regular annual recognitions. Also annually, the United Way conducts a campaign in our community, as they do nationally, and our local United Way is very good to collaborate with us and provide services for our students and their families. Each year, we participate in United Way campaign activities such as the Day of Action. We have students who go and perform service through that particular campaign kickoff, and that will happen on September 14th. But each year, our schools and our departments also run a campaign to collect funds and raise money to support the United Way programs in our community. And each year, they recognize the schools and the departments that increase their giving. There are 2 awards for this particular honor. One is the President's Campaign Award, and each of these organizations raised their giving 10%, and those are G.W. Carver Elementary, Laurel Park Middle School, Sanville Elementary School, and the second award is the Employee Campaign Excellence Award, and this award recognizes departments or schools that increase their giving 20% or more. And those awardees include the Center for Community Learning, FC Middle School, Meadowview Elementary School, Mount Olivet Elementary School, and then I'll ask Ms. Strayer to accept on behalf of our school board office. Each year, Henry County Public Schools contributes to the campaign with a little more than $10,000, which is turned back to our students and their families through programs, which we really appreciate. So I'd like to ask all of you to stand on the stage, maybe in a couple rows on the stairs, so we can take a photo together. And our last annual recognition for today is the Virginia School Boards Association Academy Awards, which makes me feel like we should have a red carpet here for you, but we neglected to do that today. Each year, the Virginia School Boards Association recognizes board members and staff for their dedication, time, and hard work in improving boardmanship skills through VSBA meetings, conferences, board development and training, and active involvement in the association. VSBA members earn credits for VSBA Academy Awards, which are based on participation from July 1 to June 30 each year. There are 5 levels of awards with certificates and pins awarded for particular levels. And we are very happy to present each of our board members with a recognition today. The first level for 15 credits is the Award of Recognition. So I'd like to ask Reverend Alker, Mrs. Flanagan, Dr. Stanball, and Mrs. Strayer to come accept those awards. The Award of Achievement is for 24 credits, and the board members who earned that award this year, and they get a certificate and a bronze pin, is Mr. Gravely and Mr. Zaire. An additional category is the Award of Excellence. That's for 48 credits over 2 years of service. We did not have anyone to earn that particular award this year. We had some who just jumped straight to the very next category, which is the Award of Honor for 66 credits over the course of 2 years. And those awardees earn a certificate and a gold pin, and they are Dr. DeVault and Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Ms. Hatchett. We'll move on to item 4, the information agenda for the morning, and we'll start with Mr. Minner.
It happens a lot every time I come up here, everybody leaves. That's a sign. So good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I'm here to talk to you about Profile of a Virginia Graduate as well as Honor Graduate and Graduate Distinction. With the new changes to the standards of accreditation, students must now show evidence of certain life-ready skills that they have obtained in their K-12 education years. Those areas are specifically with content knowledge, workplace skills, community and civic responsibility, and career planning. With career planning in mind, students in elementary are there for exposure. In middle school, they're there for exploration. And in high school, we're looking at the career clusters that we offer. Those programs are aligned with our program of studies, and we have multiple pathways for students to achieve this. When it comes to civic and community responsibility, it's more about the experience of learning about those opportunities. It's about real-world work and community problems. It's about research and presenting. It's about capstone projects. When it comes to content knowledge, we need to look at what students need to know for their next level of life. We need to look at different types of assessments. We need to have a blended content, and we need to reach the 5 C's approach, as well as connecting real-world issues to their education. When it comes to workplace skills, all students should be given the opportunity to learn workplace skills. They need to have transitions from school to work sites and a continuum of options being offered to them. When it comes to graduation requirements, we're living under 2 sets of requirements currently. We have our 10th through 12th graders who are in that first section, and we have our current 9th graders who are in the second section. And I'm going to go over those 2 types of diplomas so that way you can see what our 10th through 12th graders need for a standard in advance and what our 9th graders would need for a standard in advance. For our 10th through 12th grade students, the state of Virginia says that standard diploma students must have 6 verified credits and meet 22 standard credits for their diploma. In Henry County, we believe that they should be required to have 25 standard credits along with the 6 verified credits. In relationship to the advanced studies diploma, they have to have 9 verified credits and 26. And in Henry County, we require 29 standards credits. With the new standards of accreditation, the number of verified credits have been lessened. So for a standard diploma, students have to receive 5 verified credits, but still maintain that 25 standard credits. In relation to the advanced diploma for our current 9th graders, the number of verified credits is now 5, just like the standard diploma. And in Henry County, we're requiring 29 standard credits. Once again, we're looking to implement the 5 C's, which are critical thinking, creative thinking, collaboration, communication, and citizenship in relationship to a profile of Virginia graduate. So our incoming ninth graders, our current ninth graders that are with us right now, will have to show that they can meet these 5 Cs before they graduate. In relation to our honor graduate recognition, the following changes were made in 2017-18 to take effect this school year, 2018-19. To remove the competitiveness and pressure that students put on themselves by trying to increase their GPA at all costs. The new model supports students as it encourages them to reach their personal best rather than competing against others in their class. Honor graduates, graduates with a 3.8 GPA or higher will be recognized as honor graduates. All students, including honor graduates, will be seated alphabetically regardless of class rank. Special honors such as distinction of honor graduate will be denoted in the graduation program. Adornments, all graduates who earn cords, stoles, and medals through their academic and extracurricular activities and in their involvement in Henry County Public Schools programs will be recognized for their achievement by wearing these items at the ceremony. Graduate of distinction. Graduate of distinction, in order to be eligible for this award, students must meet the criteria in the following areas. In the area of academics, a student must meet at least one of the following criteria. Have a cumulative GPA of 3.8 or higher, score 1250 or higher on their SAT using any 2 of the subject tests, or at least 700 on 1 of the subject tests, score 28 or higher on the ACT composite score, earn a state or national academic award or hold an office with at least a 3.5 GPA. In the area of service learning, they must complete 40 hours of volunteer service over the course of their junior and senior year combined. Members of the class of 2019 will only be required to document 20 hours of community service, but the following classes will be required to document 40 hours. When it comes to extracurricular school activities, participants must be involved in a minimum of 2 activities during their junior and senior year combined. Completed applications, volunteer hour logs, and extracurricular activities log for members of the class of 2019 will be due on January 9th to guidance. And students will be recognized at a ceremony or similar to a dinner or reception that the school board administration from each school and parents and graduates of distinction will be invited to this event. Are there any questions?
I have maybe a couple of questions. In the first part of your presentation, you alluded to what you call a Capstone Project. Is that the community service?
It's part of that research and involvement in that community and civic action. So we're looking for students to have a culminating project of some type. It doesn't necessarily have to be a capstone project like we have in our Warrior Tech and Beagle Tech program, but it has to be something where they present a real world problem.
Okay, and they present this to who, when?
It would be in one of their classes, and that's something that we've got to make sure by the 9th grade cohort reaching their senior year that we have something in place. So we're meeting with English teachers as a way for that to come into play. We're also meeting with history staff to have that discussion of where the best place is for that to go.
And I'd like to just interject that we've talked a lot about the fact that the profile graduate requires that they have those opportunities outside of school, and we really want to go back to, we still have the O. Henry internship program. We used to be really have more job shadowing and mentor opportunities, and we really want to work with the community and make sure that these students, before they leave us, have more opportunities to do those type of things. And that's what across the state everyone has said, and we've been saying that for years. So that's for our community's help in taking our students as interns and job shadowing opportunities, so then they could use that as their final report, the experience they had outside of school.
Absolutely.
The other question I had, you alluded to competency in the 5 Cs, that they would have to show competency in 5 Cs. That seems kind of subjective. How do you determine if they have done that or not?
It's very subjective, and the state has said that we just have to make sure that we can say that these students have met that. So once again, along with those student assessments, we're looking at a new writing assessment that will be delivered in the upcoming years. So we're implementing possibly in the writing assessment, also in citizenship. That's something we can get from in their classes. the collaboration they're doing in their classes. We know that from the time they're in kindergarten till they graduate with us, there's that creativity, that collaboration that's taking place. So it's a matter of making sure that our curriculum and what our expectations are for teachers actually gets handed down to the students.
And that's right, and Mr. Minner is exactly right. So for years, you know, the state just came out with this last year, and they've been working on it for years, but for years we've been working on this. We were talking originally about the 4 Cs. We started writing curriculum, as you all remember, several years ago. We have substitutes come in, and we have our teachers write the curriculum. Every year with the curriculum team in the summer, they're reviewing, taking the samples of the student work and rewriting the performance task, and in those performance tasks, that they're embedded with the 4 Cs to make sure that we have been asking our teachers to have the students show the work. And one of my goals this year and our goals that we're working on is how we're going to not only measure the 4 Cs, but how we report them and the progress that students are making to the parents. So that'll be information that you will be receiving as we go through this. We were fortunate enough that part of the new tech model is when we talked about ECHO, we presented the ECHO system to you, that you know not only were students graded on their academic achievement, but they were also, it was embedded in like the report card, the online report card, that parents could see progress that students were making in the 4 Cs. But absolutely, back to your point, Dr. Duvall, it's very subjective, and so that's why we want to set some definite standards so that students are aware and parents are aware of what progress and what achievement of those would look like. Hard work.
So we're not leaving this, I guess, and I like what you said there, Ms. Strader. We're not leaving this to say, with the assumption, well, I passed all my classes, I met the requirements, so I'm competent in the 4 Cs. There are ways to ensure that at least we're making it.
Yeah, and that's why it's a K-12 thing. It's something that they're going to start when they enter in kindergarten and as they progress through high school. So we've looked at different ways of monitoring that and making sure that we are assessing what needs to be assessed. With the new writing assessment that's coming forward, we can put something in place in there to make sure that our students are collaborating, are creatively thinking, are looking at civic-minded or citizenship when they're writing those assessments.
Yeah. Well, always an issue when there are changes is communication of these changes to the students and to the parents and community, and I hope we're ensuring that has and will take place.
It is, and we're actually meeting with students who've met the Graduate of Distinction Honor Graduate. We're meeting with them next week on the 11th and 12th at each of the high schools to make sure our students are aware of that they meet this criteria and what their next steps are. And we've already had some students who have sent in their applications and they have been received at the high schools. As far as profile of a graduate and that new system of accreditation, we've been meeting with principals throughout the summer, and as new things have come out, we've been laying the groundwork for that, and guidance has also been included in those conversations. So they're aware of what the senior class, or the 10th through 12th need to complete, and what the incoming freshmen need to complete.
Other questions for Mr. Minner regarding these changes that are taking place, or comments? Okay, hearing none, then we will move on. Thank you, Mr. Minner.
Thank you.
Ms. Landon, I believe you have some information for us.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and
Our
members of the board.
favorite information.
We have a number of policy changes that we're presenting for the first reading at this board meeting as a result of changes made through both the General Assembly particularly and from the Virginia Board of Education. Proposed policy revisions reflect efforts to bring policies into compliance with new or existing laws and regulations, or they have been revised for procedural or editorial reasons. The policies can be found in board docs under draft policies, and I'm going to provide you with a brief summary of the major changes that have been prompted by the amendment or enactment of Virginia Code or federal regulations. Policies BBFA, Conflict of Interests and Disclosure of Economic Interests, and GCCB, Employment of Family Members. These two policies are being updated to reflect revisions to anti-nepotism rules. The policies do prohibit hiring of certain family members of the superintendent, and they restrict hiring of family members of school board members to limited circumstances, and those are listed in the policies. Policy BDD, electronic participation in meetings from remote locations, is being updated to provide clarification on the circumstances under which the school board members may participate electronically in board meetings, and to eliminate the requirement for making a written report to the Virginia Freedom of Information Advisory Council if the school board meets by electronic means without a quorum that's physically present. CBB, appointment and term of the superintendent, is being updated to allow that a school board who does not appoint a superintendent within 180 days of a vacancy may now request additional time within which to make the appointment, up to an additional 180 days. Policy CLA, reporting acts of violence and substance abuse, as well as policy JGD, JGE, student suspension and expulsion, are being updated to require that abduction of any person, as defined and described within Virginia Code, must be reported to the superintendent and to the principal or designee. And policy KNAG, relations with law enforcement officers, is also being updated to reflect that once a principal is made aware of this type of abduction, that they must immediately report it to local law enforcement officials. Policy CMA, quality profiles. This policy has previously been titled School Division Annual Report Card. It is being renamed and updated to reflect amendments to the standards of accreditation. Policy GC, professional staff, is being revised to allow that the superintendent may request that the Board of Education extend a 3-year provisional license of a teacher for at least 1 year, but no more than 2 additional years. This is the first time that we've been able to request an extension for a 3-year provisional license. The request must be accompanied by the superintendent's recommendation for the extension, as well as satisfactory performance evaluations for that teacher for each year of the original 3-year license. Policy IJD, college and career readiness, is a new policy which addresses academic and career plan portfolios and academic and career plans. It is based on amendments to both law and Board of Education regulations revised as part of Profile of a Virginia Graduate, which Mr. Mentor has already presented to you this morning and addressed. Policy IKH, retaking SOL assessments, is being updated to reflect adoption of revisions to the criteria for determination of student eligibility for expedited retakes of SOLs. Standards for qualification now depend on the reason for retaking the test. Different rules apply to students who retake the tests for federal accountability purposes than for students who retake the test to earn verified credits for graduation. Policy IL, testing programs, is being updated to reflect that no student or his parent is required to disclose information related to the student's race or ethnicity unless the student or his parent is given an option to designate other for the student's race or ethnicity, or unless such disclosure is required by federal law. Policy JGD, JGE, student suspension expulsion, is being updated to reflect that no student in preschool through grade 3 is suspended for more than 3 school days or expelled from attendance at school unless the offense involves physical harm or credible threat of physical harm to others or unless the school board or the superintendent finds that aggravating circumstances exist as defined by the Department of Education. Policy JO, student records, is being revised to reflect that schools may not release the address, phone number, or email address of students as directory information or pursuant to FOIA, the Freedom of Information Act, unless the parent or eligible student gives written consent for that release. And finally, we have updated or are updating the alternate compliance officers and/or the titles of the compliance officers for policies GB, equal employment opportunity non-discrimination, JB, equal educational opportunity non-discrimination, and GBA, JFHA, prohibition against harassment and discrimination. The policy revisions have been verified for legality by the Virginia School Boards Association, and they will be presented to the board for approval at the next scheduled meeting on October 4th. Are there any questions? I know that was a lot of information.
I think one time before, particularly the one that always jumps out is the policy about suspensions, and I think in the past that Mr. Scott and I guess Dr. Boone now, we have been in compliance with that new one even before it was changed, I think. Okay. Well, you have an opportunity to peruse all of these, I guess, before the next meeting, and then we will, I guess, approve them at that time.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to consent agenda, item 5 on this morning's schedule. All of these things, you've been made aware of all the items under this part of the agenda. We can take them out and discuss each one individually, or if you have a question regarding one specific part of this agenda, we can bring that forward for discussion at this time, or I will accept a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
So moved. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Those in favor of this stated motion signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries. We move to item 6, action agenda for the morning, appointment of the superintendent's designee in case of their absence. Ms. Strail.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Yes, Virginia Code and the school board policy requires that a designee be appointed if the superintendent is unable to attend meetings. And with my move to acting superintendent, it is recommended that the board appoint David Scott as the superintendent's designee for this purpose.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second regarding Ms. Strayer's recommendation. Hearing no questions or discussion, those in favor of this motion signify by raising your right hand. We'll move to item B there, approval of 3-year harvest grant. Mrs. Milner.
Yes. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I would like to share with you the Harvest Grant application for your approval. When determining what the Harvest Foundation could help our administrators and teachers with that currently supports what we're doing right now in Henry County, we looked at our balanced literacy model, and we determined that the following supports are needed to support our students in literacy, English language arts. If approved, this grant would begin in January of 2019 and run for up to 3 years. So Henry County Public Schools is eligible for an estimated $1,036,002 in harvest funding for up to 3 years. This amount is pending approval of the grant allocation from the Harvest Board. Harvest funds would be used to support the following: instructional consultants, substitute salaries, MyON, IXL, Read 180, BASCD conference, high scope training, PSAT, and eSpark. And I just want to note that these are all things that we're currently using, so we would like to use our harvest funding to support what we're currently doing. And so in the chart, there lists the specific items that I mentioned and the cost of each item. It is recommended that the school board approve the 3-year harvest application. The fiscal impact for year 1 would be $474,736. Year 2, up to $280,633. Year 3, up to $280,000 and $633, and total estimate of $1,036,002 harvest grant funded.
Okay, hearing this proposal, are there questions for Mrs. Milner?
The PSAT test, we pay for all the students that take the test.
Yes, sir.
So that's an estimate. I mean, I'm sure you err on the side of caution.
Yes. Well, that's the exact cost right now for what it is.
That's what it is right now, right?
So do all of our 10th graders take that? Or they elect to take it or not take it?
We currently have all of our 10th graders taking it. We actually are working with our high school principals and college board because we're looking at, after this year, having the students take it in the 9th grade so that we can better use the Khan Academy
Results,
resources that we had talked about before. And so this year, it's not in this grant because this is for, coming forward. But our 9th graders and our 10th graders will take it so that we could possibly have just our 9th graders take it from now on.
So what is the exact cost for one student to take the PSAT?
I'm sorry, I don't know the exact cost for
And
one
we
student.
actually get a discount because we bundle it, and since we buy it for everybody.
Oh, I see.
It's a major discount, so you're not paying individually. But I have to put a plug in here for technology, because that's one of the things we've been wanting to do is, as you all know, when they take the PSAT, it links them automatically to the Khan Academy, where students are specifically targeted on what skills they need to improve on the SAT. And so with the iPads being in the 9th and 10th grade, once these results come back, and our counselors review the results with our students, then they can use those iPads every day in a certain class and be able to go to what they need specifically to improve on SATs, which will help increase our SAT scores. So it was like, it worked out this year where Mrs. Milner was able to do this because of the technology that was provided to our 10th graders. And our 11th graders who take the PSAT for the National Merit Scholarship, they do have to pay.
Yeah, I was going to ask, because the results of the PSAT apply to whether you can qualify for National Merit Scholarship funds, and so you're saying some 11th graders are allowed to take that too?
Absolutely, any 11th grader. That guidance departments work to inform the students that they need to sign up for that test.
And they would pay, yeah.
And then they pay. So we're working on making sure that everyone knows that, and that's why we're starting the test, and we think it'll be better in the 9th grade, and let them work online with the Khan Academy with their iPads, and then make sure the students know they can get the PSAT test, their scores up, and take it again
Yeah.
to qualify, because we want to have a National Merit Scholarship candidate.
How do we do this previous year? I know that was something that we focused on in the past year or so. Did we identify some and have some 11th graders take it specifically for that purpose, or where are we in that process?
I do know that they did do that. We asked guidance to do that, and Mr. Scott worked with guidance counselors last year to work on communication and making sure that students actually were taking the test. And I know they took the test, and we had a few wanting to be Jefferson Scholars. We had a few that interviewed actually with UVA and also National Merit, but we did not actually have a final candidate.
Yeah, and following up on that, it's even more important that be communicated if we're going to move the PSAT back to the 9th grade, because those kids in the 9th grade, certainly it would help us to use the results, but it also puts 9th graders at a disadvantage if that's the only time they take it. And qualifying for the National Merit Scholarship. So we want to be sure that we do make them aware.
And that's one of our big goals. We keep talking about our goals and our strategic plan, and safety being a big goal, but also communication and making sure that all the wonderful things that we do, as we pointed out with Luis, getting the word out for us in his work. We're doing that all throughout the county, trying to make sure people know the wonderful things we do and the opportunities that are out there, because the worst thing that can happen is a student not know that they can take the PSAT as a junior.
And if I understand, Ms. Miller, what you've said here, this is a 3-year grant, so these figures are just estimates on a yearly basis. They could change
Yes, sir.
from year to year. But
And attached to this document within your board docs is the actual grant that was submitted.
right.
And it's a lot of detail within the grant. One thing that's new, the process this year is new for Harvest. It could be 1-year approval, it could be 2-year approval, or it could be 3-year approval. It just depends on what their board approves.
Okay, other questions? Is there a motion to approve Ms. Milner's recommendation for this use of the Harvest Grant pending approval on their part over the next 3 years?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Thank you, Ms. Miller. Okay, the next item, approval of award bid for classroom sets. Ms. Durham?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. A bid was solicited to multiple vendors for the purchase of virtual reality headsets to enhance STEM activities in the classroom, as well as allow students to experience virtual field trips without leaving the classroom. It's pretty cool. The invitation to bid was sent to 67 vendors and 3 responded. Aquila Education submitted the lowest bid of $50,661 and $180 for each 360 camera purchased, for a total cost of $52,281. And attached is also the bid summary and our specs and everything that we included in the bid. It is recommended that the school board award the bid of number 18-08243-3046 to Aquila Education to purchase 9 classroom sets of virtual reality headsets for $50,661 and 9 360-degree cameras for a total cost of $52,281. This is completely grant funded through the Title V grants from last year's carryover money, this year's Title V grant, and this year's Title I grant. Completely grant funded.
Well, you know what Mr. Milner would say, Dr. DeMar.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
He's nodding his head at you. So, Mr. Zager, are you making a motion that we approve this?
So moved, Mr. Chairman. Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve this request as presented. Those in favor signify by raising their right hand. Motion carries.
These will be in our media centers, and Mrs. Mead will be working with our students on that. We encourage you and invite you to come over and try them on and go on a virtual field trip with our students. So you're welcome to come see what's going on with them.
Item D, approval to purchase updated math instruction. Mr. Mentor.
Good morning again, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Flexible Creativity Incorporated has developed a variety of instructional and assessment resources that focus on the increased rigor of the Virginia Standards of Learning assessment. Teachers and students can build confidence when using these modified technological enhanced math items and open resource assessment questions. Research has shown that students perform better on assessments when they are familiar with the type and style of questioning in addition to the content. If approved, the following books and resources will be purchased for each student in 6th through 12th grades. Math in Minutes, which is a daily math series that provides 5 items per Virginia SOL, so that teachers may provide 1 or 2 items each day, as these are an opening activity or transition between activities, and can formally assess students' pre and post knowledge on the content. TEI Math Checkpoint Test. These tests include an average of 15 items per math standard and provide students with plenty of exposure to the rigor of the open resource question styles they will encounter on the assessment. This will assist teachers in exceeding state standards by allowing teachers to track student mastery of the content. The third is Authentic Assessment Workbooks. This book provides a means to assess students' authentically with a view to college and career readiness. Each workbook, one for each Virginia Math SOL, includes 8 performance tasks with multiple parts based on authentic real-world situations, and a rubric is provided with each task. All these resources are from Flexible Creativity Incorporated and are used on a daily basis by math teachers in grades K through 12 to increase student achievement and understanding. This is a Flexible Creativity is the sole source provider for this program. It's recommended the school board approve the purchase of updated math instructional assessment resources from Flexible Creativity Incorporated for 2018-19 with a fiscal impact of $21,450 fiscal year 2019 local funds. Are there any questions?
Is this something we've been using before?
We have used it before, yes.
Teachers like it?
They do.
Our math scores are up.
Looking good. New standards this year, and our math teachers are working really hard with our curriculum team to develop new assessments that's going to meet the standards and achieve higher even, hopefully. That's our plan.
Other questions? Do I hear a motion in support of this request?
So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second? And a second in support of this request. Those in support, in favor of the motion, signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Minner. Next item, approval of 2018-19 Special Ed Advisory Committee, Mrs. Roop.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I'm here today to seek approval for our Special Education Advisory Committee members for the 2018-19 school year. Our membership is comprised of parents of students with and without disabilities, teachers, administrators, as well as community partners. Each year we seek the approval of school board membership for those members. It's recommended that the school board approve the membership of the following individuals: Ashley Bagwell, who serves as our president; Sharon Mullen, vice president; Takia Hines and Teresa Hooper, both of Piedmont Community Services; Mr. and Mrs. Joseph McKissick; Kim Myers at Stanleytown Elementary School; Cynthia Anderson, and myself. I would like to note that as the Director of Special Education and where Cindy serves as the coordinator, we are non-voting members. We're there just to support and guide. But we are still members. And then if there's any fiscal impacts, such as, if we provide them food or drink or something at the meetings, it is out of our 6B grant, which is 100% reimbursable. So I'm just here to seek approval for the membership.
Questions, comments? If not, is there a motion to approve Ms. Roop's request?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the request for this committee, for this committee's makeup. Those in favor of this stated motion, signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Roop. We'll move on to item F, approval to purchase installation of some technology work. Ms. Adkins.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Continuing with infrastructure upgrades, network wiring is required at the Center for Community Learning, Philadelphia Middle School, and Central Office. Because CCL has moved to a new location, old fiber needs to be replaced with Cat6 cabling in order for students and staff to have stable network connectivity for the purpose of accessing and facilitating instruction. In addition, a CTE lab is being created at FC Middle School to replace a lab that was needed for a special education classroom. The Henry County Board of Supervisors approved the award of a contract in the amount of $191,426 to CenturyLink for the purchase and installation of new phones and voicemail systems for various county offices, including Henry County Public Schools central offices. The current system has reached the end of its useful life, and replacement parts are hard to acquire. The new system will include newer technology and will be less costly to operate. They are providing our district with new switches and phones. However, we will be responsible for replacing the network cabling to the phones, computers, printers, and access points for the school board office. It is recommended that the school board approve the purchase of the installation of network cabling for land from Gamewood Incorporated. We currently have a bid with them, bid number 1701043-2999. The fiscal impact would be $22,628.62 for CCL, which would be coming from our technology reimbursable state budget, $4,675.73 for FCCTE lab, which also comes from the same reimbursable state budget, the $25,688.89 for central office would be coming from our technology infrastructure budget, for a total of $52,993.24.
Questions for Mrs. Adkins? So actually, that part for the central office is 1/4 of what
Yes, sir.
the county's paying the other 3/4 of the total part of that item.
Yes, sir. And they are giving us a lot of equipment. The only thing they're not doing is the wiring.
Okay. Other questions? Is there a motion for this request from Mrs. Adkins?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second for approval here. Those in favor of this stated motion, signify by raising your right hand. Thank you, Ms. Higgins. Item G, approval of additional appropriation for the school nutrition budget. Mr. Scott is giving us new information from his new position.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. This morning, I'm seeking approval for additional appropriation to the fiscal year 2019 school nutrition budget for fresh fruit and vegetable program. The school nutrition program was awarded $191,026 by the Virginia Department of Education for the fresh fruit and vegetable program for 8 of the elementary schools, which is great, but we have 9 elementary schools. Because Meadowview is a new school, they were not on the invitation list of schools that the Department of Ed would allow to apply for funding. They will be eligible to apply and participate next year. Since the FY19 school nutrition budget appropriation is insufficient to cover the expenses for this program, an additional appropriation is requested. It is recommended that the school board approve an additional appropriation of $191,026, which matches the award from the state, to the school nutrition budget for the fresh fruit and vegetable program, and forward the request to the Board of Supervisors. The fiscal impact is $191,026 to the fiscal year 2019 school nutrition budget.
Questions?
So was each school awarded that amount?
Yes, sir. That the award covers and doesn't even quite cover all 8 schools, but it is meant to be applied to all schools except Meadowview. So the additional appropriation is to kind of cover that shortage and include Meadowview.
So it's double, though, what we were awarded?
Yes, we are asking to match what we were awarded.
Other questions? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second,
Got to have a
guess
second.
we have much choice.
I can give you more information about the program if you'd like, if that would.
But we've been involved in this program for a
About
long
10
time.
years. Yes, ma'am.
I guess the only question I had is how we came up with a number. You know, if we were awarded that number that was to cover 8 schools and it fell a little short, and so we're going to come up with the amount to cover the shortfall and 1 school, how'd we come up with a number that's identical to what we were awarded? Or is that arbitrary?
I don't believe it's quite arbitrary, but that number was provided by Ms. Lexa, and I think what she's looking at is the school that was left out is the school with our largest elementary population. I think that was, in her mind, matching what was given is probably the best way to make sure that we're equitably distributing the money to do this program.
We might not use the total amount, is that correct?
That's correct.
Other questions before we vote? Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Those in support of this motion as presented signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Scott.
Thank you.
We'll move on to Section 7, Superintendent's Report. Mrs. Strayer, I'll turn this over to you to present that report.
Okay. This month's report includes highlights from the first month of school, and as you see, foreign language learners. School is back in session, and students are off to a wonderful start at Campbell Court. In Ms. Reynolds' second grade class, students have been introduced to foreign language by learning how to pronounce and read common school-related words in Spanish. The children were excited to learn how to speak and understand a different language in the context of such a familiar environment. Strategy, teamwork. To encourage teamwork and collaboration this school year, students in Ms. Nance's third grade class at Jerry Mason completed STEM challenges during the first week of school, included structure building competitions like those in the pictures. We're having a lot of fun. Rapid readers. Ms. Martin's fifth grade class at GW Carver is reading books on their individual level, as well as applying comprehension skills to a variety of text. Students are enjoying the structure of literacy time and discussing books in small groups as they develop relationships with their peers. Ready, set, blow. Fourth grade students at Meadowview Elementary experimented with bubble gum in a sequencing activity recently. Students wrote out the steps of blowing a bubble. Then they gave the step-by-step instructions to a classmate who had to follow directions to attempt to blow a bubble. After some failed attempts, students who blew a bubble were especially excited to show off their accomplishments. Establishing community. Community building activities took place in abundance in classrooms around Mount Olivet Elementary as the new school year began. Fourth and fifth graders shared information about themselves to make connections with others and participate in a variety of discovery activities to find things that they had in common. Literacy Family Night. Rich Acres students had blasted off into a world of literacy. During Family Night, students and their families participated in a variety of literacy activities centered around the school's space theme. Students enjoyed learning about space with their families and teachers, and everyone is looking forward to the next Family Night. Memories in the making. Students in Ms. Stovall's class at Sanville began the year enjoying writing workshop as a part of a Lucy Calkins writing program. Memory strings completed in a recent workshop have served as excellent story starters for our fifth graders. First Day Parade. Stanleytown Elementary had some special guests present to help welcome students on the first day of school. Bassett High School's bingo greeted each student with a high five, and members of local law enforcement were present to meet the faculty, parents, and students as they arrived on the first day. And I might comment that we had local law enforcement at each school on the first day of school. Was very nice. Cavalier collaborations. Students in Mr. Wade's Introduction to Technology class at FC Middle began the year with an icebreaker activity designed to improve their communication collaboration skills. After an introduction to terminology and equipment in the technology classroom, students were able to progress into programming a robot to navigate a maze. Kindness Campaign. Laurel Park's Kindness Campaign officially began this summer with the inception of the Lancer Leaders and their training under the direction of school administration. Students were chosen to provide perspectives and feedback to benefit and improve the climate and culture of Laurel Park Middle School. Lancer leaders are being trained this fall for peer mediation so they can lead school anti-bullying and kindness campaigns. Fierce Freshmen. On Monday, July 30th, the Rising Bassett High School ninth graders participated in orientation coordinated by upperclassmen and enjoying games, tours of school, and wowed by performances by the band and the cheerleaders. The event allowed the new group of students the opportunity to feel welcome in their new school as they start the new year. Morning coffee is a must. Students in Miss Hilton's class at Magna Vista are running a coffee/hot bar this year. They're learning the real-world skills by managing the coffee bar from 8 o'clock until 8:40 each morning, and they're filling the coffee orders for staff members. A visit from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Students in Mr. Holland's agriculture class at the Career Academy recently enjoyed a visit with Mr. Jimmy Rigney from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Mr. Rigney spoke to the group of youth and explained the youth loan for purchasing livestock. Class members will begin to make their purchases and learn about the full agricultural management process in the coming weeks. So it's really exciting. You want to go and visit the Career Academy and see that these students have purchased their own livestock and they are raising them during the year. Magnificent Mathematics. Through the courses at the Center for Community Learning are primarily online, students are regularly completing hands-on projects and activities. Now the teachers can display those activities outside the classroom to foster discussions and extended learning opportunities for each student in the school. So once the students display on the walls there at the Center for Community Learning, you can see that they are tying that back. And we expect some renovations there. I know if you've been to see the Center for Community Learning in the old Council Primary building, that we still have some makeovers to do to make it more of not a primary school, but for our students that are at the Center for Community Learning. Inspiring Learners. Teachers across the division have been working with Dr. Dan Mulligan to align math curriculum for optimal learning. They began a recent session by summarizing the benefits of unpacking the new 2016 math standards for writing common assessments for every grade level. Time to plan. Preschool teachers have been working with a high-scope consultant this month to learn planning time strategies that will promote literacy development as preschoolers make a plan for daily work time. 100 free background checks. Our school system has offered 100 free background checks for interested community members who plan to volunteer with our schools each year. The HR department has worked diligently to process those this summer, and they have already reached the goal of completing 100 free background checks. Delightful donations. Our middle schools are again benefiting from the spirited competition of our friends at Young Williams in Martinsville. Several departments in the organization competed to donate most of the school items and school supplies, and the organization provided a winning pizza party for the department in their organization that won, and it made the school year much easier for many of our students when they received these much needed supplies for school. Congratulations are in order. We at the opening convocation, we did congratulate the following teachers who won Apple TVs for use in their classrooms, and you see in the picture there Ms. Haley Wallace from FC Middle School, Mr. Justin McGee from FC Middle School, Ms. Amy Perry from George Washington Carver, Ms. Robin Williams from Mount Olivet, Ms. Tanya Compton from Jerry Mason. We also see April Lentz from Lower Park, Ms. Taylor Robertson from Magna Vista, and Emily Montgomery. So now it is time for, I think, almost everyone's favorite part of the superintendent's highlights. When we get to start this first month off with meeting our new members of the class of 2031. And we owe Ms. Hatchett and Ms. Connor a great deal of thanks for going out several days and taking the pictures. And it's really exciting to see this group of students. And, you know, we have approximately 530 kindergartners. You know, that fluctuates as each day of this time of year. But so now I'd like to introduce you to the class of 2031. Well, we have that wonderful group of students, and all throughout the school, we have wonderful students, and you have that time to get out there and see them. We always tell them that it flies by, and we don't have them long enough. It just goes too quickly, but that's just something that we enjoy each year, seeing that and watching them, and before you know it, that group of kindergartners will be graduating. That is the end of the superintendent's highlights report. If you have any other items you would like to discuss from the superintendent's reports.
Any other questions for Mrs. Strayer? Thanks for that. You're right, we always look forward to seeing those kindergarten kids and wonder how many of us will be around when 31 comes. We'll move on then to item 8, matters from the board. Are there points to be brought before the board by members this morning?
I noticed on the membership report, I was very pleased to see that our membership enrollment is up. It's my understanding that September 30th is the magic day, that whatever our enrollment is that day, that's what our state aid is based on.
Well, actually, I'm going to let Mr. Scott speak to that specifically, but we are we are a few students above our projection of what we've based our budget on.
Yeah, September 30th is an important date. That gives us our membership, which is the number of students when we take into account the ones who have moved out, the ones who've moved in, and it gives us an idea of how many students are in our school. But the true funding number comes at the end of the year, March 30th, when they look at the average daily membership. And that's, as payment is delivered throughout the year, as that revenue comes in, that March 30th one is where they kind of square up with us. And if we're below at that point, they withhold some of the funding. And if we continue to exceed, then we'll be in good shape. Typically, and I've just gone back through and looked through the last 3 or 4 years, enrollment continues to go up and then peaks in January, and then it's a steady decline to the end of the year. So we're hoping to hold the line going into the spring. Are there any other questions about that?
But it's true, Mr. Zaire, that's something that we are watching carefully. Mr. Scott's done a lot of work already, like I said, looking at trends and comparisons, because we know that's important to keep up with.
Are there any updates, Mr. Scott, about, I know there had been a few minor items at the new elementary school. I know there's, I guess, paving of the car rider line that's going to happen at Bassett, and I wonder, is there a timeline on that? And just any other facility updates as we've gotten started here?
Yes, sir, I can address at Meadowview, I guess was one of the first questions you mentioned. I will give a big kudos to Lieutenant Raines. He's not here right now, but he and his crew has been out there every day with helping with the car rider line. Miss Edmonds and them have been working really closely, making sure that we keep those cars off of 108. I've also spoken with Lisa Hughes with VDOT. They're looking at maybe moving back the flashing zone lights a little bit. So a lot of tweaks like that taking place. We're still working with G&H Contractor and a lot of warranty issues that come up as the building's being used a lot. So we continue to work with a few little items like that. The paving work, we still have some paving work to get completed for, like as you mentioned, the car rider line at Bassett High School. The contractor's going to do that on a Saturday and a Sunday so as not to interrupt school day. We're hoping that'll take place in the next few weeks. We're just waiting for his schedule to free up. And then the Axton parking lot will probably take place during our break time this winter because it's going to be pretty involved. They did get Rich Acres completed. That parking lot looks really nice in there. So. Any other items that I miss?
I know your year got started off with a bang on the first day of school with the HVAC at one of the elementary schools, so it's been smoother sailing since then.
Yes, sir, just normal, comfort calls, things that happen when it's hot outside, but we continued. Our big focus right now is trying to wrap up the Career Academy renovations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other matters from the board. Reminder of dates, item 9, they're listed there. I won't go into detail, but do note that our October meeting is a 6 o'clock meeting, and the annual Legislative Advocacy Conference coming up here in a couple or 3 weeks or so. If you plan to be a part of that, be sure that you've made Mrs. Overy aware. We move to item 10, this morning's work session, and we're going to do that up in the school board meeting room. Is that correct? So we will move to the school board meeting room upstairs for item 10.